Hey everyone, welcome to Home Therapy. It's your host, Anita Yokota. This is the podcast where we break free from our negative thoughts about our home and ourselves. As a licensed therapist and interior designer, I'm committed to bring you raw, relatable, and revealing home therapy sessions to help renovate the real in all of us. But guess what? It won't be all serious business. I love having fun, so we're going to definitely include the ridiculously crazy and funny moments we all experience at home. From DIY fails to spontaneous paint jobs and even discussions on how to decide on a style with your partner, how to motivate your kids to organize their spaces. Sound familiar? I get it. Even as a designer, I'm right here with you, navigating through these challenges and sharing the journey. New episodes drop every Tuesday, so get comfy, sink into your couch, because this is the place to get your home therapy, one session at a time with me, Anita Yokota. Welcome, Brownstone Boys. I'm so glad you're here with us.
Hi, Anita. Thank you so much for having us. We're so excited to be here. We love you, and we're so excited to chat with you.
You know how much I love you guys. I'm mesmerized by your design work. I admire the way that both of you support each other and work together. Let's dive into the design is top of mind for me right now because you're doing so much great work. What is your current project and how does it invigorate your creativity? Because honestly, what I love talking about is how our homes can invigorate our spirits, our mind, body, wellness. And even though you're helping clients like as I do, how does that invigorate your spirits?
Love that.
So it's funny because I think we think similarly to the way you do, but not as a therapist. So we kind of approach it a little bit differently, but we end up in the same place. But we totally believe, and we've said it so many times, that in order to like feel good in your space, and in order for your space to be at the best it can be for you, it has to be functional, and it also it has to look good. You have to like the way it looks to like the way you feel in it. So I think we're saying the same thing. Exactly. We're not using the technical fancy therapist words that you do, but we're big believers in it. Things like making sure you have the right amount of organization in your house so that your house might be beautiful, but if you don't have anywhere to put anything, it's not going to feel that way and you're going to be stressed all the time. So we totally agree with you on that. And we always approach all of our projects with that in mind.
And a huge thing for us is really getting to know our clients and taking on that role that we just kind of inherit as becoming their therapist throughout this crazy renovation process that we go through with our clients. And we have a firm understanding of who they are as people and how they want to live. And that initial walkthrough that we do in a completely gutly renovated space that we're about to take on, we just know their vision and kind of try to execute that from start to finish with them.
I love that so much. Are there a few tricks up your sleeves to get your clients to a place where exactly what you described? Because I know sometimes there's resistance or there's maybe just lack of understanding, no judgment, but you know in your heart, based on your design experience and how you're dealing with them, that this would be really good for them, but maybe they're stuck on the budget or they're stuck on another kind of style. How do you gently guide them to a place where they never even imagined? Because that's really the point of hiring you guys, right?
We like to think so. I mean, it's definitely a roller coaster of a ride. And we go through our extreme highs, we go through the lows. And I think that's just standard in any project, no matter what size it is. But it's really about listening to them. And for me and Barry, it's really having an understanding of what they want, how we're going to get there, what that budget is, and how we can creatively get inexpensive things with elevated garnishes and little elevated finishes that we can bring in to, let's say we're renovating a kitchen. Maybe we're looking at an inexpensive cabinet box, but then elevating it with really nice hardware that we're kind of doing a budget splurge. So that visual is going to be what appears to be really fancy, really elevated, but knowing that it still fits within the client's budget.
And I think
Absolutely.
helping people visualize things helps to get them there too. So if they have a different thought or they don't understand it, just giving them something that can help them visualize it by either explaining it with an example like Jordan just gave, or showing them a completed space where we feel it's a little easier for us now because we have the more finished spaces we have, the more things we have to go back and reference. And when it's our work, it's even easier because it's something that we did. And here's something we did in another house. And it's a little more kind of comfort level with it. But even if it's someone else's work that and it's an inspiration picture, or if we produce an elevation or 3D rendering for them, anything to like actually help them visualize it and envision themselves in it, and even if it's describing how they're going to use the space. And it's a lot of work going through options with people. Sometimes it's an exercise of going through all the options, considering every single option and deciding together collaboratively with the client which one is the best one for them.
I understand every word you're saying. Sometimes those renderings that we present, those are the clinchers, right? It's like once you show them those renderings, they're like, oh, yeah, I
Oh, I
totally
get
can
it.
see that. I know brownstones are your jam, obviously. I would love to know, are there 2 or 3 signature design concepts or just details that every project for sure you include in? I live in California. Our architecture is Spanish and Mediterranean, so
I love that.
different. Inside, I always tell my clients, take away your limiting beliefs. Okay, your outside is Mediterranean. No one's going to drive by and look inside every day of like what your inside of your house looks like. So if someone wants to recreate a brownstone feel, are there 2 or 3 go-to ways we can all create that kind of vibe at home?
Yeah, absolutely. And we always love mixing the old with the new, since we do work on older homes, like you said. And agree wholeheartedly with everything you said about no one really is going to see the inside of your home except for the homeowners. It's really an open space for you to design. But for us, we always are looking at ways to bring that historical charm even in a modern space. And one of the really exciting projects that we worked on last year was a brand new built apartment building. And we were asked to design 2 white boxes. And something that we took great pride in is bringing in some of that historical charm that we love so much in the brownstones. And we brought that inside these blank spaces. So for us, it involved picture frame molding and really elevating the molding and the trim work it's a really easy, it can be a DIY project depending on your level or your skill set and what you're comfortable with, but it's a really affordable way of bringing in and kind of elevating that space with that historical charm that we mentioned. We're always looking at sourcing like antiques and vintage items as well to bring in a space. I think that mix of the old and new is really beautiful, and that can be as big as like getting a marble fireplace inside a white box, or even like accessorizing with candlesticks or picture frames in just more of a classic historical vibe.
That is really wonderful to explore, I think, as listeners are wanting to recreate that vibe at home. So, thank you for that tip. We've talked some about design, but my burning desire is to talk about the both of you because I love you guys so much and just want to get to know more of your story. How did you guys meet? I love a good love story, so I need to know.
Yeah, we chatted for a long time before we actually met in person.
Yeah, I remember. So we met, we chatted for a while. We met at both of our mutual favorite bars in Brooklyn, and that was our first date. And then we had a couple of dates. One of them was riding bikes around Brooklyn, which really started our mutual love for architecture and design and brownstones and the community that we live in. We realized that was really special to us, which was very cool.
And 6 to 7 months after we started seriously dating, after he came back around, is when we put all of our savings in together and we bought this brownstone.
Gosh, that
Um,
is I love your journey together. What you just mentioned was the foundation of a good relationship, and that's empathy. Empathy is such a magic potion for relating, and I love hearing that empathy was there. And then you guys both creates the foundation for something huge coming together and buying a brownstone together. That's like such
No.
commitment and investment. And so is that how you started your design work together?
It is. So we both had different experiences and backgrounds in design, professionally and personally. I got thrown into design by mistake. I put myself through film school and I needed to work a job. So I worked at a bakery. The guys that owned the bakery that I worked for were expanding and needed help designing a kitchen around their second location. And it became a passion project of mine. And once that bakery opened, there was a beautifully designed kitchen that I took like a huge part in. And I shared with them how much I loved that. They referred me to a couple that owned an ice cream company that was wanting to expand. And they hired me as an internal designer to help alongside their architect. And I helped develop over 16 ice cream shops throughout
Oh
New
my
York City
God.
for 5 years. I
That,
just threw myself into this and like learned all the New York City codes. And I'm forever grateful for that time in my life
yes.
because it all happened by mistake.
And I actually always wanted to be an architect. I actually went to architecture school, did
Oh,
not finish architecture school. So I'm an architecture school dropout. And I went to this college of business. I got a business degree, just figured it was the quickest way out. And I ended up going into software sales. So it was like very far from architecture, but I always loved it. And I always loved design. And I ended up buying my first apartment, scraping together like every penny I could to do it. And I lived there for a couple of years. And while I lived there, I did some renovations to it and I sold it and ended up selling it for more than I bought it for. And then I bought another apartment and that one really needed to be renovated. So I had to actually totally gut renovate it before I moved into it. I got a little bit of confidence from my first project. And then I took on this bigger project, beautifully renovated. It was a great apartment and lived there for 2 years. And then I figured out that I could sell it for a lot more than I bought it for. So I kept doing that. I kept just buying different apartments, and then they were always my place that I lived in, but I would renovate them, live in it for a little while, and sell it. But I kind of figured out that I could design a space with the next user in mind. Basically, design. Even though I was going to live there, I was designing it for someone else.
what's really interesting to me is, especially as self-taught designers, I know sounds like that's been your journey. It's been my journey. And so many great designers that we see today were self-taught, right? So what's really amazing though is all of our stories can be completely different circumstances, but that creative spirit in us led us to these opportunities. I really believe that the universe listens to us. And even if it's our subconscious that led us to these opportunities, we go full circle and now we're all designers. Isn't that kind of crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's special. It is crazy, but it's also like at the end of the day, we did this and this is our work and
It's
it's amazing.
I feel like it's magical. There was a force beyond us helping us along the way that we didn't even intentionally. I feel like none of us really sat down and went, this is what I want to do. This is our path. It just things happened, like your ice cream shops, your commercial design experience, and then Barry, your architecture background. And then at the end of the day, just wanting to be creative at home, using our homes to find solace. What are some ways that listeners who can't decide a design style with their partner, or there's some kind of miscommunication, whatever it is, even between the two of you, and learning how to problem solve together and communicate together for the goal of designing a beautiful home for clients? What are some communication tips or problem solving, conflict resolution techniques that you guys use between the two of you?
I think a good example is coming to middle ground with each other. And I'll say this because just for design purposes, Barry loves neutrals, grays, whites, creams. And if it was up to me, our entire house would be painted in color. And I knew that Barry wasn't going to allow me to paint an entire brownstone color. But I convinced him, okay, if you're not going to let me paint the entire house in color, let me add some accent spaces. So we came to like a middle ground with each other. And I think that's a good idea in any size project is talking with your partner and coming to a middle ground if there's extreme different views and opinions on something.
How do you get to that middle ground, though? That's the part that I think gets tricky because there's egos, emotions. And a
Yeah.
lot of times people can't see the forest through the trees.
For the paint specific, like I convinced him to paint an accent wall a dark blue. And for me, it wasn't the color of my dreams, but I was like, I'm getting some color on this space. And then Barry loved it. And then he was open to me painting another space in color. So we like did small steps to get to like adding a bright, bold pink color in our laundry room, which is like the colors that I would gravitate towards. I know Barry would be a firm no with, but now he's open to like listening to me, leading the conversation with color.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just about compromise, right? So we found the right color that we could both agree on. Instead of Jordan just going straight for the craziest, boldest color that he knew was going to be outside of my comfort zone at the time, we settled on something that we were both happy with. So sometimes it's not painting every wall. Maybe we paint one wall or find a feature. Maybe it is the right color, or maybe it's sometimes I win on some projects and he gets what he wants on other projects. If I'm like, oh, I kind of got what I wanted in that room, Jordan should have a little bit more freedom in the next room. And that's how we approach it with our clients too. It happens a lot where we're trying to figure out which direction to go in a space and they don't agree on it. And we need to find a middle ground. So sometimes we do that for them. We know one of them likes color, but one of them doesn't. And we might present a design that kind of gives them some color, but not something that's going to freak out the other one. And there's a million versions of that, but that's just one example.
And also, like, I really listened to Barry on why he was opposed to me painting the entire room in that dark blue, for example.
Yeah.
And then he opened up my world to be like, oh, I wasn't thinking of us painting the original 1890 crown molding, that he wanted that to be the showpiece, and a dark blue would hide that. And I was like, oh, I wasn't even thinking like that. Oh, there is a reason why Barry is opposed to this dark blue. And I'm just using that as the example in the
Yes.
overall.
I really agree with you. When you share your feelings, when you communicate clearly, then people have a reference point. It's not just the battle of the egos. I had a client who didn't like brass, and we all love brass, especially vintage homes. Brass, I assume, is like the go-to metal finish. And he was like, you know what? It just reminds me of the 80s. I grew up in the 80s, and there was just so much gaudy gold that he couldn't bring himself to have brass metal finish in the kitchen. So we really had to sit down with both partners and talk through. But the other partner actually, in the end, decided to go with chrome because she understood where he was coming from. And then she got her dream bathroom. So, he
Compromise.
got the kitchen, she got her dream bathroom. It's really sharing the background reasons. Now, going back to just home therapy, I love knowing how people use their homes for yourselves. Is your current home pretty much finished? How do you guys find respite? How do you relax individually? Are there specific spots you designed for relaxation? And then how do you guys find fun and relaxation with each other?
I really like to cook. It's very relaxing for me. It's an opportunity to shut work off and stop early, because that's another thing with cooking is you can't work until 8 o'clock at night and
Mhm.
also cook. So cooking is really a nice one for me. And Jordan and I really enjoy like our relaxing like during the week is Netflix on the couch. We wanted to make sure that our living room was designed for TV watchers. So what we enjoy. We love watching movies. We love watching TV shows, and designing a space that was beautiful but wasn't focused around that enjoyment that we wanted to get out of it just wasn't going to work for us. And so it was a very important aspect of the functionality of the space for us.
For me, one of the most enjoyable rooms in our house is by mistake, and it was caused because it was a chore that both Barry and I absolutely hate, and that's doing laundry.
I hear you.
Right? Who enjoys laundry? Even though I've grown to kind of like it. And the main reason is because we did our laundry room like some crazy color, and it's one of the loudest rooms in the house now. And it just sparks joy. And I now like look forward to going down there and doing our laundry.
And I'm sure, because you guys are smart guys, that you added very wise decisions on storage and organization in the room as well. Because I think that's half the battle too, is I can easily throw in dirty clothes into the machine like, hey, no problem. It's after drying, the folding, the organizing, and putting away that is the bane of my existence. Color energy is an amazing way to draw people in to a space. I am the same as you guys. I love watching TV. I love listening to true crime podcasts. I think this is why we love each other so much. We love ice cream together, good food going out. So tell me more about your next plans. Is it okay to mention that your book is coming?
Yeah, Anita, today is our big day. I don't know when the podcast will be out, but I'll just timestamp it that we're speaking at the end of January, the last day of the month. And we're announcing that we wrote this book for the last 2 years today.
I saw that you guys were saying huge day for an announcement. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to ask them because I'm going to see them today. Okay. So tell me everything. Tell the listeners everything so we can share it, shout it to the world.
Yeah, so our book comes out into the world June 4th, and it is called For the Love of Renovating. And we like to describe it as a design, beautiful image, full page spreads, but it is a prescriptive how-to that you can achieve the look of any room in a house, from buying a fixer-upper all the way to move in, and how to successfully renovate each and every space on any sort of budget.
So we approached it just like we approach the process with our clients. And a lot of our clients even come to us before they buy the house because they want to buy a home to renovate and it's a big project and they need to understand what they're getting themselves into and is it the right house and what does the budget have to be for the renovation. It starts from, if you want to buy a fixer-upper, here's what you need to think about. It goes through kind of planning the renovation, who needs to be involved, what you have to think about, what your budget potentially needs to be for the spaces you want to renovate. And then the majority of the book is going through room by room, how to design the space, how to lay out your kitchen, what to think about, what do you need to know about appliances, how to lay out your bathroom, what are the considerations there, how to make all the spaces very beautiful. And of course, there's beautiful photography of all of our finished projects throughout. It was really fun to write because we do this thing with our clients. Every single project we go through, it's the process we go through. And it's exciting to be able to kind of offer that to anyone who is going through the process of renovating a whole house or just a room.
And aside from this, I just want to say that also you were such an instrumental part of this book for us because,
Me?
yeah, because you wrote your book and you really helped us as an author, just pulse check us. And, there were times that we were so lost and insecure and not sure if what we were doing was the right thing. And we were fortunate that we met in person, but then after we met you in person, you were always there to answer our questions around getting the book out and best practices. And I'm really thankful for the social media world. As crazy as it is, and as much as I have my own personal issues with it, it's really has brought us together, as I call you one of our dearest friends. And I think I'm really grateful that you were there for us to soundboard off of you.
Oh,
And
guys, same. It is not just every day you get to meet special individuals. And I know the universe brought us together for many, many different reasons. I have so much more support for you guys. Anytime you need me, I am here for you. Listeners, go to Amazon. Where can we find this book?
So Barnes and Noble, Amazon, of course, Target, Walmart.
And it's on our website. So if you
Okay.
go to thebrownstoneboys.com, www.thebrownstoneboys.com, there's a book page. It's got links to all of the retailers. We're also doing a book tour as well in June. But yeah, we're excited. I mean, it's as you know, it's a lot of work. We put our hearts and souls into it. We feel like we downloaded everything out of our head about how we know about what we know about renovating a house into this book. So we put a lot into it and we're really excited to get it out there into the world.
You can't see it and listeners can't see it, but my body is tingling. Like after we talk, I'm going to go onto Amazon and order my book because you guys just bring a treasure trove of tips and design ideas. I'm blown away. Every time I see you on social media with your different projects, I'm so proud and I'm so happy to see the beautiful designs. And now in one book, guys, I mean, listeners, you have to definitely order. I'm really excited to do the same. I feel like this is something we need to continue. Would you guys be willing to come back?
Absolutely.
Of course.
Yeah, maybe after the book is launched, we can get a little update and and hear how your book tour is going and things like that. Thank you so much, Barry and Jordan, to come on to Home Therapy. You've given us such a great session today. We can't wait to see more of the amazing things the both of you do, and just a happy, happy day.
Oh, thank you so
thank
much
you,
for having
Anita.
us, Anita. We love you. And yes, thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Home Therapy with Anita Yokota. If this episode resonated with you, consider passing it along to a friend, family member, coworker, or roommate. Spread the love, one home therapy session at a time. New episodes of Home Therapy are released every Tuesday. Subscribe to this podcast and never miss an episode. To leave a rating or review of the show, head to Apple Podcasts and let me know what you think. I love hearing from you. Not to mention, you can stay in touch with me throughout the week, seeing behind the scenes info and sneak previews of upcoming guests by subscribing to my website, anitayokota.com. All information about today's show and guests will be linked in the description of this episode. Thanks again for listening. I adore our time together so much, guys. Let's keep our intentions focused and calm, and as always, use your home as therapy.